Every morning, before the world wakes up, and before life begins pulling you in a dozen different directions, there is a small, sacred moment that belongs entirely to you. A moment where your mind is soft like untouched snow, where your spirit is open, and where the very first words you speak have the power to shape everything that follows. Most people rush past this moment. They wake up and dive straight into yesterday's worries, today's pressures, or tomorrow's fears. They forget that the first voice they hear each morning should be their own, and the first truth they embrace should be the one that strengthens them, not the one that weakens them. But you, right here, right now, are about to discover a secret that has been hiding in plain sight. The secret that the most powerful transformations don't happen in loud breakthroughs but in quiet beginnings. The secret that the words you tell yourself at dawn can become the armor, the compass, and the fire that carries you through the entire day. If you want strength, speak it. If you want clarity, declare it. If you want peace, claim it. Because every morning, you are given the chance to rewrite yourself before the world writes over you. The morning does not ask for perfection, it only asks for presence. For a moment where you meet yourself before you meet the world. When you open your eyes and the first light touches your thoughts, you stand at the edge of an untouched day, a blank stretch of hours waiting to be shaped, and in that silence, the words you choose to tell yourself begin to build the invisible structure of your inner world. Your morning words shape your inner world because they become the first conversation you have with your own soul. Long before anyone else speaks into your life, long before the noise begins, you are given the chance to decide what kind of world you will carry inside you, and that world will follow you into every action, every conversation, every decision. What you speak in the morning may feel small, but like a single spark in the dark, it can light a path you didn't know you needed. Most people underestimate the power of their first thoughts. They wake up and let yesterday's worries bleed into today's light. They reach for their phones, their problems, their fears, and they let those things shape their direction. But the few who understand the quiet magic of the morning know that your inner world is not something you stumble into, it is something you build. And the materials you use are the words you say to yourself. When you tell yourself you are capable, the day bends differently. When you tell yourself you are worthy, conversations feel lighter. When you tell yourself you can handle whatever rises, your heart stands a little taller. It is not the world outside that changes first, but the world inside that shifts, and then everything you touch begins to reflect that change. Morning words act like seeds planted in fertile soil. At first, they may seem ordinary or even unnecessary, but over time they take root. A single affirmation repeated daily becomes a belief. A belief becomes a mindset. A mindset becomes a way of moving through life. And just as a gardener tends the earth with intention, you tend your inner world with every sentence you whisper at dawn. Whether you speak hope or doubt, strength or fear, the soil does not judge. It simply grows what you plant. That is why the morning matters so deeply. It gives you a moment to choose your seeds wisely before the winds of the day scatter distractions across your mind. When you speak to yourself lovingly in the morning, you are building a home within your mind that feels safe to return to. You are telling yourself that you belong in your own life, that you deserve clarity, peace, and possibility. Many people wait for others to affirm them, to reassure them, to recognize them, but the truth is your inner world is shaped more by your own voice than by anyone else's. In the quiet, before the demands of the day rise, your voice is the architect. You decide whether the foundation of your mindset will be built on fear or on faith, on uncertainty or on self-belief. There is an old wisdom that says the first words of the morning carry the energy of a beginning, and beginnings are powerful things. They set direction, tone, and momentum. If you begin with chaos, chaos becomes your compass. If you begin with clarity, clarity becomes your guide. This is why people who understand the art of self growth treat their morning thoughts like sacred ground. They know that the world outside may be unpredictable, but the world inside can be tended with care, shaped with intention, and strengthened with simple daily truths. Telling yourself something powerful each morning is not pretending or forcing yourself to be positive. It is choosing the direction of your inner voice before the world tries to choose it for you. It is remembering that you are allowed to set the tone of your own life. It is acknowledging that the first few minutes of your day have the strength to transform the hours that follow. Your thoughts are not passive guests. They are builders, shapers, sculptors of the unseen landscape you carry. If your morning words are heavy with doubt, you will feel the weight of that doubt all day. If they are filled with fear, fear will shadow every choice. But if they are rooted in courage, in possibility, in gratitude, in purpose, you begin to feel a shift. Your steps feel lighter. Your mind feels clearer. Your heart holds a quiet strength that others can sense even before you speak. You walk differently because you have already built a world inside yourself that feels steady and strong. And so each morning, when the light arrives and your thoughts awaken, you are not just waking up to a new day. You are waking up to the chance to create a new inner world. You are given the quiet power to choose who you will be before anything else begins. And when you choose your morning words with intention, you learn that the world inside you is the one you carry into everything that follows. Affirmations are quiet anchors that hold you steady, not because they shout strength into your life, but because they whisper it in the moments you need it most. The world often teaches us to chase loud victories, loud confidence, loud certainty, but the truth is that real stability comes from the silent threads you weave into your mind at the start of each day. These morning reminders act like soft ropes tied around your drifting thoughts, gently pulling them back when life tries to scatter them into confusion. They are not there to make you invincible. They are there to keep you aligned, grounded, and steady even when the winds of the day begin to rise. Most people overlook the quiet power of affirmations because they are subtle. They expect transformation to look grand, dramatic, or immediate. But real change is often quiet, almost invisible at first. It begins as a small sentence whispered into the morning air, a sentence that feels too simple to matter. Yet, beneath its simplicity is a strength that grows each time it is spoken. These affirmations anchor your identity. They remind you of who you are before the world tries to define you. They remind you of your purpose before distractions pull you away. They remind you of your worth before criticism or pressure tries to make you doubt it. Affirmations are anchors because they return you to yourself. Without them, it is easy to drift into the expectations of others, into anxieties that do not belong to you, into comparisons that weaken you. A day without grounding begins like a boat cast into open waters without a weight to hold it in place. Every wave feels threatening, every shift feels dangerous, every challenge feels overwhelming. But when you anchor your mind with intentional morning words, the same waves still come, yet you are not moved by them in the same way. You hold your place, you keep your balance. You do not lose yourself in the currents of the day. Quiet anchors also have a way of softening the harshness of the world. Life can be loud, people can be demanding, challenges can arrive without warning, but your affirmations stand between you and the noise, filtering what enters your mind. When you tell yourself, "I can handle whatever comes," the day feels less intimidating. When you tell yourself, "I am enough," the opinions of others lose their sharpness. When you tell yourself, "Today I choose peace," the noise around you feels less personal. These words don't eliminate storms, they steady your hands while you navigate them. The beauty of affirmations is that they don't need to be shouted to be powerful. Whisper them, think them, breathe them. Let them slip into your consciousness like a gentle reminder. Even when spoken softly, they land deeply. They sit in the spaces where fear grows and keep it from spreading. They settle into the corners of your mind where self-doubt waits, and with each repetition they weaken its grip. Over time, these quiet anchors become familiar truths. You begin to trust them. You begin to rely on them. and eventually you begin to embody them. There is also something sacred about speaking to yourself before the world speaks to you. It is a declaration of self-authority. It is you choosing your anchor instead of letting circumstances choose your mood. It is you deciding how you will show up, no matter what the day brings. This intentional act builds an inner resilience that cannot be easily shaken. Even when you feel uncertain, your anchor reminds you that certainty is not required for movement. Even when you feel afraid, it reminds you that fear does not erase your strength. Even when you feel tired, it reminds you that purpose still breathes within you. In the quiet of the morning, your affirmations are not merely motivational lines, they are tools, foundations, gentle acts of self-preservation. They shape your posture, the way you walk into rooms, the way you interpret challenges, the way you respond to stress. And what begins as a simple sentence spoken at dawn becomes a mindset that guides you long after the morning has passed. The truth is, you do not need the world to steady you when you learn how to steady yourself. A morning affirmation is not magic, it is a moment of alignment. It is you placing your hands on the center of your being and saying, "Here is where I stand. Here is who I am. Here is the ground I choose today." And with that quiet anchor in place, the world may shake, but you will not drift. Speaking to yourself is an act of self-leadership, not in the loud, forceful way people often imagine leadership to be, but in a quiet, intimate way that begins long before you take a single step into the day. When the morning rises and you are still suspended between yesterday's memories and today's possibilities, the voice you choose to listen to becomes your first guide. Most people move through life waiting for direction from others, waiting for the world to tell them who they are, waiting for approval to move, act, dream, or believe. But those who rise with purpose learn that the first and most important voice they must answer to is their own. Every morning becomes a meeting with yourself, a moment where you must decide whether you will lead your life or be carried by it. Self-leadership begins in the unseen spaces of your mind. Before you speak to anyone else, before you open a message, before you face responsibilities, you speak to yourself. This conversation shapes how you walk, how you react, how you interpret the day. Leadership is not only about guiding others, it is about guiding your own thoughts into a place of clarity instead of confusion, strength instead of hesitation, intention instead of impulse. The world is full of voices, opinions, expectations, pressures, but your morning voice is the only one that gets to set the tone before all others arrive. And that tone decides whether you walk through your day with direction or drift through it without purpose. When you tell yourself something powerful in the morning, you are claiming authority over your identity. You are saying, "I define who I am today, not my fears, not my past, not anyone else's judgment." This is self-leadership in its purest form, the courage to take responsibility for the way you think, behave, and show up in the world. Many people wake up and immediately surrender their day to stress, to memories of mistakes, to other people's needs. They allow life to lead them instead of taking the small but significant step of leading themselves. But the one who starts the day with intentional words becomes the author of their own direction. They refuse to be shaped by noise. They choose to be shaped by clarity. Morning self-talk is also a declaration of accountability. When you speak to yourself with intention, you cannot hide from your truth. If you say, "Today I will be patient," you create a promise that influences your behavior. If you say, "I will not shrink when I'm challenged," your actions begin aligning with that declaration. Self-leadership is not about being perfect, it is about being aware and intentional. It is about choosing your thoughts so your thoughts can guide your steps. It is about leading yourself with the same compassion, discipline, and courage you wish a great leader would show you. There is also a transformative power in speaking to yourself before the world interferes. Once the day begins, distractions multiply, emotions fluctuate, and challenges appear without warning. If you wait until chaos arrives to find your direction, you will be pulled into currents you never intended to swim in. But if you speak to yourself in the stillness of morning, you anchor your identity before anything can test it. You walk into the world prepared instead of reactive, calm instead of scattered, intentional instead of easily shaken. Leading yourself first gives the rest of the day a foundation to stand on. Self-leadership also builds inner respect. When you speak to yourself with guidance, encouragement, and truth, you begin to trust yourself more deeply. You begin to believe your own voice instead of doubting it. You start relying on your inner strength rather than waiting for someone else to motivate you. This quiet trust becomes one of your strongest assets. You become someone you can depend on. You become the person who lifts yourself when you fall, who redirects your thinking when it drifts, who reminds you of your worth when doubt whispers lies. This inner respect is not loud, but it is powerful. It becomes the foundation of confidence that cannot be easily broken. And the more consistently you speak to yourself with leadership in the morning, the more naturally you begin to lead your actions throughout the day. You make decisions with clarity because you began with clarity. You face challenges with steadiness because you began with steadiness. You walk with purpose because you began with purpose. Morning self-talk becomes a quiet rehearsal for the way you will show up in every moment. It becomes a habit that strengthens your character, shapes your identity, and prepares you to handle both blessings and burdens with wisdom. In the end, speaking to yourself is not simply about motivation. It is about direction. It is about stepping into your role as the leader of your own life. It is about choosing your thoughts so your thoughts can choose your path. And when you wake each morning and meet your own reflection with words that guide, uplift, and strengthen, you prove to yourself that leadership begins not with others, but with the voice that rises inside you before the world even wakes. Every new day carries its own unseen challenges, and no matter how much you plan or hope, life has a way of shifting beneath your feet when you least expect it. That is why morning truths are essential. They train your mind to choose resilience before the day has a chance to test you. Resilience is not something you find suddenly in the middle of a crisis. It is something you prepare for, like a muscle strengthened long before it is needed. And each morning, with the words you speak to yourself, you begin that training again. You remind your mind how to rise, how to bend without breaking, how to breathe even when the day grows heavy, and how to continue even when emotions threaten to pull you sideways. Most people enter the day without preparing their inner world. They wake up, rush into the routine, and let external events decide their emotional direction. One small inconvenience ruins their mood. One difficult conversation drains their energy. One unexpected problem feels like a mountain. But those who train their minds through morning truths understand something deeper. The day does not shape you unless you allow it to. What shapes you is the state of resilience you choose to carry into it. Morning truths act as the quiet armor you put on before stepping into the unpredictable battlefield of daily life. When you speak resilience into your own mind at sunrise, you are choosing how you will respond before anything even happens. You are telling yourself that no matter what comes, you will meet it with steadiness. Resilience is not denying your emotions. It is deciding not to drown in them. It is not pretending everything is easy. It is reminding yourself that you are stronger than what is difficult. So when you say something like, "I will remain calm even when things go wrong," your mind begins to follow that instruction throughout the day. When you say, "I can handle challenges," your nervous system learns not to panic as quickly. These morning truths become cues, reminders, invisible signals guiding you back to strength whenever life tries to push you off balance. Morning truths also help you separate temporary discomfort from permanent identity. Without them, it is easy to believe that a hard moment means you are failing, or that a setback means you are weak. But when you tell yourself in the morning that you are capable, adaptable, and strong, you begin the day with clarity about who you are, not just what you will face. So when challenges come, you no longer interpret them as a sign that you are not enough. You see them for what they are: moments, not definitions; obstacles, not verdicts; lessons, not labels. This is how resilience grows. It grows in the gap between what happens to you and what you choose to believe about yourself because of it. There is also something transformative about beginning your day with truth rather than fear. Fear prepares you to hide. Truth prepares you to rise. When you speak resilience into your morning, you set an expectation for yourself that you will not fold under pressure. This expectation becomes a compass. It helps you walk through difficulties with less emotional chaos. It keeps you from reacting impulsively. It slows down your racing thoughts. It gives you the space to choose your response instead of letting stress choose it for you. Morning truths train your mind to pause, to reflect, and to answer life with strength rather than panic. The consistency of repeating these truths builds endurance. Resilience is not built in one morning, it is built through repetition. Each time you affirm your strength, you reinforce neural pathways that support emotional stability. You make it harder for challenges to overwhelm you because your mind has already been taught which direction to go. Over time, your resilience becomes the default rather than the exception. People around you may wonder why you handle pressure so calmly, why you don't fall apart easily, why you remain centered even in chaos. They don't see the quiet morning work you do, but that work becomes visible in the way you move through the world. Morning truths also protect you from the exhaustion that comes from internal conflict. When your mind is not trained, small problems feel like heavy storms, but when your mind is prepared, even storms become manageable. You stop wasting energy fighting yourself, doubting yourself, or questioning your ability to continue. Instead, you use your energy to navigate challenges with wisdom and clarity. Resilience becomes not just a reaction but a lifestyle. It becomes the strength you carry without needing to announce it, the calm you hold without needing to prove it, the confidence that lives quietly inside you regardless of circumstances. In the end, morning truths train your mind to choose resilience long before the world tries to steal it. They prepare you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for the unexpected. They teach you that difficulty is not your undoing but your awakening. And when the day finally arrives with all its uncertainties, you meet it not with fear but with a steady strength born from the truths you spoke into your own soul when the morning was still young. There is a hidden strength inside every person, but most of the time it remains tucked beneath layers of doubt, stress, routine, or old wounds. Life has a way of burying your greatness under responsibilities and expectations, making you forget what you are capable of. This is why the right words spoken in the morning matter so deeply. They do more than motivate you, they awaken the strength that has been sleeping within you. When you tell yourself something powerful at the beginning of the day, you tap into a part of your spirit that the world often overlooks. You remind yourself that beneath everything you carry, there is still courage, clarity, and fire waiting to be used. Morning is the moment when your mind is the most open and unguarded. Before stress hardens your thoughts, before problems pull your attention, your spirit is receptive. It is in this gentle space that the right words can enter and take root. These words become a signal to your inner strength, calling it forward, reminding it that today requires its presence. When you say something like, "I am stronger than my struggles," your strength hears that. When you say, "I choose courage today," your courage rises. When you say, "I won't hide from my purpose," the part of you that was once afraid steps closer to the light. Morning words are like a hand knocking on a door inside you, waking the parts of you that have been quiet for too long. Often, people go through the day without realizing how much power they carry within them. They underestimate themselves because they have been overwhelmed, discouraged, or disappointed. They think their strength has disappeared because they haven't felt it recently. But strength doesn't disappear, it just sleeps. It waits for direction. It waits for permission. And the right words spoken at the right time can be that permission. They can remind you that you have already survived harder things, that you have already proven your resilience, that you have already overcome storms that once felt impossible. When you speak these truths aloud each morning, you activate a memory within your spirit. You remind yourself that you are built of more than fear or uncertainty. You remind yourself that strength is your nature, not a rare event. The words you choose can also awaken clarity. Strength without clarity can become scattered, but clarity gives your strength direction. When you affirm your intentions each morning, you bring your wandering thoughts back into focus. You remind yourself what matters, what deserves your energy, and what is not worth losing peace over. Clarity cuts through confusion like light breaking through fog. It helps you step into your day knowing who you are and what you need to protect. And once clarity awakens, your strength grows bolder because it finally has a path to follow. There is something deeply empowering about speaking to yourself with authority rather than hesitation. Too many people wait for encouragement from others before they allow themselves to feel strong. They wait for support, recognition, or approval before they believe in their own ability. But the truth is that strength grows much faster when it is awakened from within. When you tell yourself each morning, "I have what it takes," you stop depending on outside validation to feel capable. When you say, "I trust myself," your confidence no longer relies on other people's opinions. These morning declarations awaken a self-belief that cannot be easily shaken because it is built internally rather than borrowed. The right words also awaken emotional strength. Life often pulls you into situations where your heart feels heavy, where your patience feels thin, where your hope feels dim. But morning words act like gentle light warming the cold corners of your emotions. They remind you that your feelings are valid, but they do not have to rule your direction. They remind you that you can feel fear yet act bravely, feel tired yet move forward, feel uncertain yet continue with faith. Emotional strength isn't about never breaking, it's about having the courage to rise again when you do. And morning affirmations are the quiet reminder that rising is still possible. As the day unfolds, the strength awakened in the morning becomes your companion. It walks with you in moments of pressure, it steadies you during difficulty, and it lifts you when doubt tries to suffocate your confidence. The right words do not create strength from nothing. They reveal the strength that was always there. They bring it to the surface. They make it accessible. When you understand this, you realize that each morning is a sacred opportunity to call forward the parts of yourself that the world sometimes makes you forget. And when you awaken these inner forces through intentional words, you step into your day not just prepared, but empowered. You move with quiet certainty, with steady confidence, and with an awakened strength that carries you through challenges with grace. Repetition rewires your identity in ways that are subtle at first but powerful over time. The words you speak to yourself each morning may seem small, almost insignificant, but with consistency they begin to shape the deepest layers of your mind. Most people underestimate the influence of repetition. They think change comes from dramatic moments or sudden breakthroughs, but true transformation is built through daily habits, daily thoughts, daily declarations. Every time you repeat a truth to yourself, you carve a path inside your mind. At first, the path is faint, barely noticeable. But the more you walk it, the more defined it becomes, and eventually it becomes the route your thoughts naturally take. This is how identity is formed, not through grand gestures, but through repeated choices that slowly become your nature. When you speak positive truths to yourself every morning, you are training your mind to adopt a new way of thinking. At the beginning, your affirmations might feel unnatural, almost like foreign words you are forcing into place. You might say, "I am strong," but feel weak. You might say, "I am worthy," but feel undeserving. You might say, "I will succeed," while remembering past failures. But repetition is not about matching your current feelings, it is about creating new ones. Every repeated affirmation sends a message to your subconscious mind, teaching it what to believe. Over time, these repeated messages become familiar. They begin to override old doubts and outdated fears. They replace negative inner voices with steady, empowering ones. Slowly, your mind begins to accept these truths as part of who you are. Identity is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped by experience, environment, and the stories you tell yourself. Many people inherit identities from their past, identities shaped by mistakes, criticism, trauma, or discouragement. They walk through life carrying labels they never chose: not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not deserving of success. These labels take root deeply, often without people realizing. But the same way they formed is the same way they can be rewritten, through repetition. Each morning affirmation acts like a chisel, gently reshaping the old beliefs that once defined you. You repeat the truth until it becomes louder than the lies. You repeat the strengths until they feel more natural than the weaknesses. You repeat the identity you want until it becomes the identity you live. The power of repetition also comes from its ability to shift behavior. When you tell yourself something consistently, you begin to act in ways that support that belief. If you repeat, "I am disciplined," you start behaving more disciplined. If you repeat, "I can handle challenges," you respond differently when challenges appear. If you repeat, "I deserve good things," you stop accepting less than you are worth. Identity and behavior feed each other. The more you repeat a belief, the more you act like it is true. And the more you act like it is true, the more deeply it becomes part of you. Morning repetition is especially powerful because the mind is most impressionable at the start of the day. Your thoughts are not yet cluttered, your emotions are not yet pulled in different directions, and your attention has not yet been scattered. Repetition during this vulnerable moment sinks deeper. It becomes the emotional and mental foundation you stand on as the day unfolds. And with time, the truths you repeat in the morning become the truths you carry throughout your life. Of course, repetition works both ways. If you repeatedly tell yourself negative things, those too will become part of your identity. If you wake up each morning saying, "I'm tired," "I can't do this," or "nothing ever works for me," your mind will shape itself around those beliefs. You will begin to live out the limitations you speak. This is why choosing the right words is essential. Your mind does not argue with repetition, it absorbs it. It builds around it. It becomes what it hears most often. Repetition also creates emotional resilience. When you repeat truths about your strength, your worth, your purpose, you build a mental shield that makes you less vulnerable to external negativity. Criticism no longer wounds you as deeply because it conflicts with the identity you have been reinforcing. Failure no longer defines you because your repeated truths have taught you that setbacks do not erase value. Fear loses its grip because you have practiced courage every morning long before you needed it. Eventually, repetition does something remarkable. It transforms your inner voice. The voice that once doubted you becomes the voice that encourages you. The voice that once criticized becomes the voice that supports. The voice that once feared becomes the voice that believes. And when your inner voice changes, your entire life begins to shift. Choices become bolder, boundaries become stronger, dreams become clearer. You stop living as the old version of yourself and begin stepping fully into the person you were meant to become. In the end, repetition rewires your identity by showing you, day after day, who you truly are beneath the noise of doubt and the shadows of the past. And as you continue speaking these truths into the morning, you transform not just your thoughts but your entire life. In the end, every morning becomes a quiet crossroads where you decide the kind of life you will build from the inside out. These 10 powerful things you tell yourself are not empty lines or fleeting motivation. They are the foundations upon which your identity, your resilience, your clarity, and your strength are shaped day after day. What you whisper to your soul at dawn becomes the compass that guides you through uncertainty, the anchor that steadies you in chaos, the light that lifts you when shadows try to pull you down. Morning is not just a time of day. It is a moment of rebirth, a small beginning offered to you again and again, asking you to choose intention over habit and purpose over fear. And when you fill that beginning with truth, courage, and self-belief, you step into your day with a quiet power that nothing outside you can take away. You become the one who leads yourself instead of waiting to be led. You become the one who rises from setbacks instead of shrinking beneath them. You become the one who speaks life into your own heart instead of waiting for permission to feel worthy. Each morning you shape the world within you, and that world becomes the force that shapes everything you touch. The words you repeat become the strength you live. The thoughts you choose become the person you become. And with every sunrise, you are given another chance to build a self that is steady, bold, and deeply alive. So as you carry these morning secrets with you, may they remind you of the power you hold, the resilience you've built, and the identity you are still shaping. May your days become lighter, your steps become surer, and your mind become a place where truth grows stronger than fear. And may you continue to speak to yourself with the same gentleness, honesty, and courage that the world often forgets to offer you. Good luck to you on every morning that still waits to meet you. And thank you for allowing this journey of words to walk beside you. May these truths guide you, strengthen you, and awaken the best in you, today and every day yet to come.